Hello, dear students and viewers. A very warm good afternoon to this YouTube channel. And as all of you know, that we are going to talk today about Sidhwa's novel, The IceCandyman, and largely known in the world as Cracking India. So today we shall be generally discussing what the novel is about, and my agenda is to let those students know who have read this novel already how to make assignments out of this novel. And those of my students who have not studied this novel so far, they are about to begin. For them, it will be an introductory lecture. But it can be very good only at that time when we pay our full attention, make mental notes as well as physical notes so that we may be able to welcome to Professor Abdul Rashid, very soon going to be the doctor. Welcome to this live YouTube. Thank you very much for Abdul Rashid to come online. Well, I would say that I do not make these lectures in order to prove that I am a great professor. There may be many other professors out there, maybe far, far greater than I can claim. And my effort in these lectures is just to facilitate my students. I may not be able to do as better as the other people are doing, but my effort is only to let my students have engaged, first of all, and secondly, to have lots of good things about their books and about their reading, about their styles, whatever they want to have. They may be benefiting out of that. And I hope so, that maybe 50% is a great number, that these people may be having good idea how they should discuss these aspects of the novel. So let us, after having this declaration, let us go forward. Dear viewers and students, we have this novel, IceCandyman by Sidhwa. This novel is not new to me because I worked on it during my PhD studies. And it was really very fascinating to go through this novel, especially at that time when someone who is in the minority communities in Pakistan, a Parsi, who writes about the people of Pakistan, writes about the history of the people of Pakistan, and lets us know the background with which we have come forward as Pakistanis. I mean, the time the writer again and again reminds us was the time when identities were changing, when it was not possible for anyone to clearly say what identity that person is going to have. Sidhwa captures that moment and helps us understand how we can claim that we have an identity which is Pakistani Muslim identity. And Pakistan is a country which, though dominantly resided by the Muslim, does care for its minorities. And that is why today, once again, it's being proved that a novel written by a Parsi writer is called a Pakistani fiction, Pakistani part of literature. And we discuss in the same way. So that is why when we approach this novel, we need to discuss this novel with these 2 points of views. That number one, it is written by a Parsi, yet a Pakistani. And number two, it is the novel which reminds us the history or the identity making process of Pakistani people. So let us have an entry into that. And for this purpose, I have divided my lecture into different slides. And sometime I shall be visible and sometime my slides will be visible to help you more understand what are the points we are taking. But I'm expecting as an outcome, as the object from this discussion, that some of you may be able to write down the assignments, as you call it, or discussion topics that we may call it, that may be coming forward as an object of this novel. I very warmly welcome Dr. Ali Ahmed Sahab. Thank you very much for coming online. This is my greatest possible honor that the head of department of ComStats University, Bihari, should be with me. Thank you very much, sir. This is a great honor for me. I need to start so that we may not be wasting any more of time. I welcome all my students here. I already very warmly welcomed everybody. So, having a start, as you can see, that the topic is IceCandyman by Sidhwa. And that topic is very fascinating indeed, because this is the very topic which reminds us of the tasty very tasty kind of delicacy we can enjoy in our streets in the summer season that we normally call as kulfi. And somebody who sells that kulfis may be called kulfi man, or he may be called ice candy man. So this is what the title is about, having the sweetness in it. But yet the exploration will show that sweetness is residing in itself something which may be called bitterness of the partition and the establishment of Pakistan. So in that way, it is a two-pronged title. One that it's like is sweet like candy for us Pakistanis, but also bitter because the history is not that sweet. It is replete with the salt of the blood and the destruction which caused at that time when we were creating Pakistan, or when our forefathers were creating Pakistan. So to further explore into that, let me show you how I want to do with all these things. Well, first of all, I'm going to discuss with you that Ice Candy Man is the novel that can be discussed, that can be approached, or if we open the novel and we want to see how we should be approaching it, it can be approached with 5 aspects. Number 1, as you are seeing, are the characters, then the plot is there. Themes of the novel can be brought forward. Historical context is very important in this novel. Then we can go for the Parsi community culture as well. So with these aspects, we may be entering into the lecture. And first of all, the thing which I want to show is the picture of Sidhwa, this very writer that we all the time say Bapsi Sidhwa. Bapsi Sidhwa was a polio-stricken lady. As we find in this novel as well, she was having problems with her body because of the polio. But these problems have not stopped her in voicing her opinion, in a way voicing the opinion of the women, voicing the opinion of politicians, voicing the opinion of every Pakistani, voicing the opinion of historical context of Pakistan. Nothing has stopped her. She has come forward with that. And as the caption on the photo goes to show, that Ice Candyman has also been named or titled as Cracking India. And that title goes even more smoother with the part of the text that we are going to read, or we have already read, that goes how India was cracked. And it's literally cracked. It's not separated. It's cracked because of the culture, because of the people, because of the languages we speak, because of the inheritances we share, and because of the people who are left in both the countries and have their relatives in both the countries. As a result, this is more suitable to call it as cracking of India rather than calling it a partition of India. Well, if you look at Web Sidhwa, she is still holding a copy of some novel in her hand, and that goes to show her love and her respect for the things which she is writing and for which she is known. So this is Bapsi Sidhwa, whose novel Ice Candy Man we are discussing today. Some of the details of the writer's biography may be talked about here. That first of all, she's Pakistani writer, though this is a very conflicting term. We need a separate lecture in order to talk about what a Pakistani writer is. Bapsi Sidhwa was born in Karachi and later on she moved to Lahore. So she knows what is the taste of migration. Even if it is from just one metropolis to the other, the migration does have certain things which are pretty problematic. To be Dr. Rashid, one of my audience here, knows very well what migration is going to be. She was the victim of polio, as I already said, when of the 2 years of age, and was 9 at the time of partition. So it exactly corresponds with Lennie's polio-stricken legs in the 9 years of age that we are going to read in this novel. She did her BA from a Canadian college in 1957 and married at the age of 19. Then again got divorced and got married again with Naushir and has 3 children. Currently, she divides her time between Pakistan and USA, but mainly living in USA and teaching the people there. I wish sometime I can invite her, though online, in order to deliver a small lecture to my students, online only, to the students of literature to read her books. If it is possible in near future, I would request all the authorities, all the people to help me in doing so. And I think it will be a great contribution to Pakistan by Sidhwa if she delivers some online lecture to my students. Keeping the strain further, I would first of all talk about the characters which are present here in this novel. As we said, that there are 5 ways to approaching this novel, and one of the ways is the characters that we may be taking care of. And as looking at your screen, you can find the characters have been detailed. Number 1 is Lennie, there is Shanta, Ice Candyman, Masir, Imam Deen, Rana, Hamida, and Godmother. first three characters should be taken as the main characters, or all these first three characters can be the protagonist of the story, because there is no single person who can be termed as the hero or the protagonist of the story, because everyone is playing a big part. For example, if you look at Lennie, she's the narrator, and she's the one who causes many things to happen, and she's the one who makes many things to happen and to stop happening as well. So in that way, her role can also be taken as the protagonist role. Same is the case with Shanta, and actually she is the one who suffers from tragedy, and so she could be the protagonist. But then IceCandyman is again there. He is the one who changes his roles from one to the other, and sometimes becomes successful and sometimes not. But still, he's got the similar type of importance. So all these people could be the protagonist. All these people could be contributing together in order to make a triangle of the protagonist. So that is why it's very difficult to single-handedly say that this character should be the protagonist of the novel, while we have Mossier as well, who played a significant role along with Imam Dean, who's the cook and is the symbolical representation of the traditional Muslims and carefree attitude of the people of Pakistan. Same is the case with Rana. Rana is a boy, is a young boy just like Lennie. He suffers so much, but the book only dedicates to him just a couple of, we can say, scores of pages, say 20 or 30 pages. So he cannot be declared to be someone equal to the role Lennie is playing. Hamida is another maid servant, as Shanta is there. Shanta is called Aya in the novel as well. Hamida is also Aya. But Hamida is quite opposite to Shanta. Though the sufferings are same, but still Hamida is different in her height, in her body physical structure, and in her many other qualities which she is possessing. Though, like Shanta, she is abducted. Like Shanta, she's away from her people. Like Shanta, she is forced to play the role which possibly she didn't want to play. Like Shanta, she is the victim. But not like Shanta, she's the victim of religion. She is the victim of tradition and custom and culture. Then again, we have Godmother, which is the grandmother, in fact, of Lennie. And this is the person whose role has been shown to be the most important, because he's the savior also. Savior, because she is the person who protects everybody. She's the one who provides to everyone. She's the one who welcomes everybody. She's the one who is making the rescues possible, the rescue of Shanta especially. So in that way, her role is going to be the role of somebody protective. This is the type of role given to the godmother, but still she is a lesser important character as compared to Lennie and Shanta. And now let's see and enter into these characters separately in order to know them very well and to help the students to make their assignments on these characters also. So first of all is the character of Lennie. I would discuss the character of Lennie under these headings. First of all, an 8 years old child. Lennie, as we know her, is an innocent child. Mostly, she is roaming about on the streets with the company of Aya, and at that time she's in her pram because she's unable to move and unable to walk because of polio leg. Her age, 8 years of age, is neither a very babyish age, not a very girlish or boyish or childish age, because she's standing in between these two ages. I mean, she's not that naive that we may be considering that her view is just babyish. Same is the case that she's not very teenager, that we may be considering that, okay, she's suffering from her own emotional problems and that is why she's saying certain things like that. She's standing in between at an age when she is more a person who is impartial, a person who would like to look at the world as the world is going to be. That is why she has been chosen as a narrator. In fact, the students should take care of first 3-4 chapters where Lennie visits the doctor, Colonel Barucha, in order to get her leg dressed or treated and the plaster applied to her leg. The pains she feels, the troubles she undergoes, and the problems she is going to highlight are the problems of an 8-year-old. We also need to see what kind of love she gets from Aya or the love she gets from the mother. All these loves combined together make her a very successful child of 8 years, though physically, up to some extent, she's having a problem in the leg, but with the passage of time, the problem will be removed. As she was told by one white man when she was being pushed by Aya, the white man came on the road and he pointed out to Aya why Lennie is sitting in the pram, why she's not allowed to come out of the pram and walk on the road. And this was the wish of Aya as well, Lennie as well. and the wish of that white man as well. So in that way, Lennie is introduced to us. Lennie is the narrator as well. As I said already, that some narrator was at least required, but the best narrator would be an impartial narrator. Neither a Muslim, nor a Hindu, nor a Parsi, nor a Sikh. A narrator who is just a child, a narrator who has not actually become any of these identities of being Muslim or Hindu. She is innocent. And as the hackneyed phrase goes, that the children are the best politicians, children are non-politic as well. Children are the people who would tell the things what they deem fit to be told. They won't take care of the cultural barriers or whatever these are. That is why, in order to lend a color of the total acceptance of narration, Sidhwa has chosen the narrator Lennie at the age of 8 years. She is polio stricken. The purpose of the writer is to see that she should be taken as the autobiographical representation of the writer herself. There are 100% similarities of the life of Sidhwa herself when she was 8 years old. Same is the case with Lennie, and the same is the case with the witnessing of the incidents and going through life in the same way as Lennie goes in the book. And in reality, this Sidhwa, the writer, had an experience of this partition thing, because of which 1947 came and all migrations and struggles came, and ultimately Pakistan was established. So in that way, polio has a connecting link between Lennie and the writer herself. The students, while they make their assignments or read the character of Lennie, they should read all those chapters where the polio of Lennie has been talked about, where Lennie's age and her observations have been talked about. In that way, she is the reflection of the writer. Students must spend some time in order to find out those paragraphs where she becomes a true reflection of the writer. Well, Lennie is a curious person as well, that she wants to know. She has in her mind that world is very interesting, and she must be exploring the world as much as possible. And she must be trying to know where the world is going. And what are the Sikh people? What are the Hindu people? What are the Muslims? And why they were fighting with each other in such a way, in such a bitter way, that fires, destructions, bloodshed, rape, and the abduction of women and children, killing was happening. What was the reason behind that? She wanted to know all the time. So her curiosity always takes her to a number of places. Her curiosity takes her to a number of houses as well, where she wants to know what is the sensation which I would feel at that time when she meets IceCandyman or Mossier or any other lover. And she also wants to know what is going on in between her father and mother when they love each other, when they fight with each other. So her curiosity makes her learn a number of things. For example, when her mother and her aunt go outside in their Morris car and come back occasionally, she is able to guess that it is the petrol which they are smuggling into the house, not rescuing anybody, as is mostly told. She also comes to know that there were guns at the top of the house also. She also comes to know what her cousin wants from her. In that way, curiosity is everywhere. There are a number of incidents which can prove her curiosity. And in that way, the people can find out and prove from the textual evidence how much curious Lennie is going to be. Then Lennie is very much honest as well. She speaks out the things which she thinks are honest. For example, at the time when Aya was to be captured by the righteous, Muslim righteous, because she was Hindu, everybody was hiding her, but it was Lennie who spoke honestly that Aya was at home. And that is why Aya was taken out of home as well. She was compassionate also. She had a great love for the people. For example, when she meets Rana, when she meets Dost Muhammad, she has a great love for them. For Rana especially, she felt great compassion. When Rana comes to their home at that time, when he is injured, having number of problems in his body, she is so much sad for him. And as a result, her compassionate nature can be proved from the text by consulting number of such passages where she shows big compassion for Aya, biggest compassion for Hamida, biggest compassion for all those women who are crying, who are weeping at the time of night, biggest compassion for all those children who get beaten by their fathers and mothers. And in that way, her compassionate nature can be realized. She has a roaming nature as well. She wants to go outside. She wants to look at the historical places. She wants to go to the parks as well. She wants to go to the roads as well. She wants to meet the people as well. And her same curious nature helped her understand the people, not only from their faces, but also from their feet. I think One of my students may be remembering whom I taught that incident under which Lennie goes inside the table, under the table, and from the shoes, smell of the feet, and the style of the trouser ends of the people, Lennie is able to understand who is one and what one will do. So that goes to show how much curious, how much compassionate, and how much human she was. So these are the points which the students should consider when they want to write their assignment on Lennie's character. And in that way, they can write a very excellent assignment if they give a lot of textual evidence as well. Let's go further and have a little talk about Ice Candyman as well. You know, Ice Candyman's name is Dilnawaz, and he is a very dexterous person. Dexterous to the core, very clever indeed. He can change his roles, he can adopt any profession, he is able to do anything. He's got number of characteristics in him, and the biggest characteristic of this Ice Candyman is that he's lover of Shanta. He is all the time behind Shanta. He needs the favor and help of Shanta as well. He needs a good relationship with her. He is all the time helping and supporting Shanta, and Shanta too has some soft corner for him. Ice Candyman is enamored by the beauty of Shanta, but he is also enamored by the problems which Shanta suffers. And he's the one who is a Muslim, definitely, and is able to find out the difficulties the Muslims are going to face. But he's a very popular person. He's known and loved by the Sikhs also, by the Hindus also, and by a number of other people as well. He can become anything. Sometime he may be starting selling parrots. Sometime he may be using oils in order to sell. Sometime he may be using anything. Even sometime would like to talk to the God as well on telephone, and in that way he can do anything. In summer he's got a different profession. In winter he's got a different profession. The students can go and explore certain chapters, as we have read already, how the Askari man is able to change his roles. He's a champion of Muslim culture. He wears dressing of the Muslim people and is all the time respecting Azan, call for prayer also, and is all the time giving a lot of respect to the Muslim culture also. He becomes a poet at that time when he marries Shanta and puts her into the brothel house. He is there to become the poet. He not only sings the lines written by other poets, but also goes to write his own lines also. He wears a particular cap and uses the betel leaf in order to redden his lips. He also uses kohol, or that surma thing, in his eyes in order to look as beautiful as possible, as the poets of Delhi, Lucknow, and Awadh used to do that. So same is the case with Ice Candyman. The students should include these characteristics of Ice Candyman. And then he migrates to India in order to show his love for Shanta. As soon as Shanta is conveyed to Amritsar, to her family, at that time Ice Candyman also migrates behind her. And after that, what happens with him? We have no knowledge about that. The writer has not provided anything. But he becomes a self-exiled type of person, a self-migrated type of person. He was not forced to migrate, but it was the force of love, possibly, which he proclaimed, that made him migrate to India. And that's the type of character Ice Candyman is going to be. So these aspects may be discussed at that time when the students write the assignment of Ice Candyman. But it all should be supported with the textual evidence as well. Let's see, next one is Shanta. Shanta, most probably the protagonist of the novel. She is Lennie's ayah, we know already, we have discussed it a lot. She's very young. And the very opening chapters of the novel go to prove that she is very attractive, sexually very attractive. Though she is brunette of color, not white, but still she is very attractive. By her physical features, by her talk, by her style of walk, and by her facial features as well. She is very much attractive. Everybody feels attracted towards her, and that is why we have 5 lovers at least of Shanta. These lovers, at everyone's point, is trying to prove that he's the best lover. But Shanta has a fascination for Monsieur, a less fascination for the Ice Candyman. She is so beautiful and attractive that everybody is attracted by her. And not only the young people, but also the old people. Like Imam Deen all the time gives her pratas oiled with butter and with sugar. And in that way, she was growing in size as well. And she was all the time welcomed at every houses. Lennie had a special fascination for her. Lennie had grown to be a type of company of Aya all the time. So she is loving and passionate. Shanta's love and passion is visible at that time. When we read the things on her face, when she finds out that some people are being killed, some are being spared, some are being abducted, at that time we can find that she's very much loving to the people. She all the time welcomes everybody, and sometimes she becomes a businesswoman as well. For example, when Sharbat Khan, who sharpens the kitchen tools, he comes to the house of these people. With the passage of time, she develops a kind of business relationship with him and is ready to give her money to him so that some business profits may be earned by her. So in that way, Shanta has a different personality also. She is curious. She wants to know everything. She wants to know how the birds fly. She wants to know how the pigeons of IceCandyman fly. And she also wants to know how does the IceCandyman fly the kites. And actually, she tries to learn the kites as well, kite flying as well. And same is the case with Shanta, that she wants to know about what is happening, about the political discussions which are taking place around. She wants to know the leaders also. She wants to discuss these things with many people, and that goes to show how much loving, curious, and roaming she's going to be. And I have always thought about her as a character of symbolic suffering. That Shanta is a particular Indian woman. She can be called really an India because she is attractive. She is representative of India, and she is the one who suffers in the sense of partition as well. And after partition has taken place, Shanta goes back to Amritsar. In that way, she, the source of attraction of the lovers for so many years, she has to go back to her own self. Nobody could save her. She was the one who was exploited, and that is why she is symbolically India as well. Shanta is the one who falls a victim to her religion. For example, if Shanta had changed her religion to become a Muslim woman or to become a Christian woman, possibly her body might have been saved. But her body was ravished only because she was a Hindu, not fit a person to live in Lahore, the center of a Muslim majority now. And that is why she was exploited, and that is why we must say that she was the victim of her religion. So this is what is the character of Shanta. Everybody should include these points, support these points with the textual evidences and critical evidences in order to make your assignments. Let's go next and see some of the story of the novel. I think the story can be read under these topics. Lennie grows up in Lahore, all the incidents which take place around her when she's a child of 8 or 9 years, and after that she grows into a teenager, and that is the time she has lived there. And that time, how she grows up among the family, with the godmother, with the slave sister, with her own cooks, or we can say the sweepers, everybody like that was around her when she was growing up, and her aunt, and the electric aunt, let us say, and the witnessing of 1947. All these things were quite crucial to her development. And when she talks about the pre-Pakistan streets of Lahore, which she was roaming most of the time, she was getting influenced by the Hindu people, as well as the Sikh people, as well as the English people, because at that time, all these people were living together, and Lennie had the chance to talk all these people. The example of the table of the people, different kind of people, the Sikhs and English Hindu people and Parsi people sitting on the same table, and Lennie in under the table was able to observe all these people, is the best example of the influence of these people's cultures. Her home is a Parsi home, definitely. Her mom is a particular Parsi woman, wears the Parsi dress, and so Lennie has to take the clue from that. She says, mom of Lennie says the prayers, which are Parsi prayers. The household is Parsi. Everything is with respect to Parsi thing, and that is why at home she's a Parsi girl. She grows up in these circumstances. She travels to Pir Pindu and where she meets Rana and Dost Muhammad. That should be taken an important part of the story. The description of Pir Pindu and the full chapter has been dedicated how Imam Deen takes Lennie on the bicycle and conveys her to Pir Pindu. And there she meets Rana, the structure, the physical house, and everything like that has been talked about as a story within the story inside the novel. And after that, in the 1947, when partition had taken place, she was able to meet some of the leaders, especially Nehru, the Hindu leader, and Muslim. These people were in the consciousness of childhood of Lennie. And she has further found out she is the practical and personal witness of the story of establishment of Pakistan. So therefore, she knows the political history as well as the struggle which had gone through in order to create the country Pakistan. All these things she knows. And similarly, we continue to read and unfold unfolding of the relationship which Lennie enjoyed with Aya, with Adi, the cousin, the father, the mom, the grandmother, Imam Deen, Colonel Brucha, Hamida, and IceCandyman. All these people are around her telling their own stories, and she is listening to these stories and is imbibing these stories and telling these stories to her as well. That is the part of the novel, How Does It Grow? Lennie also witnesses the destruction and death which comes in the name of partition and establishment of Pakistan and India. So the freedom on the one hand has brought rioting and killing and death and destruction on the other hand as well. So summary continues on this slide as well. Aya's abduction is witnessed, that is described in detail, how she is witnessed, how she is abducted, how she is conveyed, and how she is recovered. Hamida, another maid servant who becomes an Aya in place of Lennie's Aya, Shanta. Hamida's story is given lots of pages. Same is the case with the migration of Hindus and Sikhs. How did they migrate from Pakistan to India? What were the kind of situations they faced and the problems? Wasir's death has also been witnessed by Lennie. Again, Rana's savage bruising and cutting and injuring of his body and his family in that Pirpindu and the neighboring village, and is the way he comes back and the story of Rana within the story. That is also the part of the summary of the novel. And how does Aya become a Kota girl with the efforts of the IceCandyman? All this thing is also told as a part of the story of the novel, and ultimately how Aya is rescued and then she is sent to Amritsar as well. That is all the summary or the points of the summary of the novel. The students can use these points in order to construct any question which is given on IceCandyman. If they know the text, if they know these points, they can make any of the answers to the questions. So let us go and see the themes which are propagated in this story. The first one is the theme of partition, establishment of Pakistan. This theme of partition definitely is the history of Pakistan. It reminds us what was the situation when India was colonized and when India was being ruled by English people, and when a little bit of hope came of independence, how Hindu and Muslim leaders started to quarrel with themselves along with the Sikh leaders as well, who started to quarrel in order to find out a better place for themselves. So ultimately, India was partitioned and establishment of Pakistan took place. All these things were behind the story of IceCandyman as the partition theme. Same is the case with theme of minorities. While living in Pakistan, Parsi community is living as a minority. That Parsi community actually got nothing. Neither Pakistan nor India, no country was given to them. They were only the people of that country in which they were living. For example, some Parsis were living in India, so they became Indians, and some Parsis living in Pakistan, they became Pakistanis. In both the ways, they are the minorities. And the theme of minorities goes to suggest how Parsi are successful in these majority countries and how they have made a place and how they have become important by voicing the kind of history of the people in the country they are living. Feminism is again another theme because most of the stories told in IceCandyman are the stories of women. For example, first of all, the story of Parsi mom of Lennie. Secondly, the story of Aya. Thirdly, the story of Hamida. And fourthly, the story of number of women who have been brutalized on the way to their migration. So in this way, more and more women's oppression and the problem have been talked about. Voice of the silent women has been raised about here. That is why the theme of feminism is also present. And then comes autobiography. Autobiographical element is quite dominant on the whole of the novel. Lennie's life, Lennie's walks and talks and the styles and the way she lives and the kind of problems she faces and the suffering, all these things go to make this novel an autobiographical novel. Actually, Sidhwa in one way or the other is quite visible there. History and politics of Pakistan and India are also one of the dominant themes in the novel. And then ending of the whole story. And actually it brings us back to the lecture's ending also. Very soon the students will get rid of me and they may be able to think later on what they have learned today. I think if they concentrate on the story with respect to these things, that Hindus migrate to India and Muslims migrate to Pakistan. So migration is nausea and the problems associated with that, identity destruction and reformation of identity, all these things have happened only because of this migration, this partition and creation of India and Pakistan. And therefore, these angles should be taken care of when one reads the story. But we should not forget, as the third angle is there, Sikhs, without any need, without any proper advice, started to spread destruction upon the Muslims. And that is something which should be in our minds all the time, that how much they prove to be death-like and destructive person, destructive people, especially for the Muslims who migrated from their territories and came back to Pakistan. Parsis, as I already talked about, are another angle of the ending, that Parsis are surviving, though, according to Rohinton Mystery, another Parsi writer, values of the Parsi people are ending as more and more they are adjusting within the societies they are living. And the Parsi writers are trying to keep these values alive within the boundaries of the countries in which they are living. So this novel is also one of the attempts of Sidhwa. An angle can be taken that she has tried to keep these values of the Parsi culture alive within the majority culture of Pakistani Muslims. So these are some of my sayings which I wanted to tell you people, and these are the things that we should discuss with ourselves within ourselves. And therefore, dear students and viewers, that was all about this lecture of today. And I hope so that the people who have not understood this novel, they have not read this novel, they will be able to read it better after having these discussions in their mind if they have made the notes. And the people who have already read this novel with me, they will be able to make better notes for the sake of examination and for the speeches they would like to make on that. The best way is to make small videos and upload it to me so that I can also feel energized and encouraged that my students are taking it in a very positive way and trying to get as much as possible. So therefore, keeping this in mind, I would like to have a close of this lecture. I hope that this lecture has changed the minds of certain people in a positive way about Pepsi Sidhwa, about IceCandyman, and of course about Professor Dr. Zia Ahmed. So here I make a close of all that. Hopefully, I will be expecting your response on Facebook in any way you want to give. So thank you very much for watching all that. And thank you everyone who was not my student, but they have come up with, as the audience. I'm really thankful to you. Thank you. That's all from me.